There you go. So hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're starting a minute early.
Hello.
Hi. I'm not sure if that was. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay. If anyone has any technical issues, feel free to chat me privately so we can make sure get those addressed. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen quickly with you all, and we can get started right on time. All right.
Sounds good.
Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So, well, welcome everybody. This is for those. Some of you have joined us in previous workshops. So I wanted to do a quick introduction. So I am Asfata Gavani. I am the Managing Director for Global Innovation Exchange. We'll do a little bit of housekeeping and introduction about where we are, but I wanted to introduce my co-host, Anthony, to you all, who can tell you a little bit about Andy as well.
All right, thanks, Shweta. My name is Anthony Maina. I'm a program coordinator with Andy, and I sit in the East Africa chapter. So for Andy is a global membership network of more than 280 organizations that support entrepreneurship in emerging markets. So members provide the critical financial support, educational business advisory services to the small and growing businesses. They'll be able to actually grow and be able to scale and provide jobs, and as well help the entire economy just to be able to grow. So that's what Andy does.
Thank you so much. All right. So let's get started. A couple of quick things for housekeeping. We are recording this. It will be shared later, so you all will be able to view it in case there are any technical issues. I would ask that all of the participants, unless you're a panelist, to please just stay on mute. It can be very, very loud otherwise, so please stay on mute. In case you are unmuted by mistake, please mute yourself. Like I said earlier, if there are technical issues, please chat me privately. I'll do my best to keep an eye on the chat so that we can address those issues as quickly as possible. Just know that we're all of us are based in Kenya or India, so we do have, poor connectivity. So give it a minute if sometimes there's issues with connectivity. It's just the truth. And then the final thing, we've saved some time at the end for Q&A. So any of the participants, if you have questions, just chat it to everyone. So our panelists can keep an eye on the questions. At the end, Anthony and I will go through and do our best to address and ask our panelists to address them. If we can't get through them, anyone who's registered for this event has an email address for Global Innovation Exchange. Email us, we'll connect you with the panelists. But we're hoping to have at least 5 to 10 minutes at the end for some questions, so please send them our way. Next, I just wanted to tell you all really quickly about Global Innovation Exchange. So we are a technology platform, and our mission is to really help social entrepreneurs who are addressing, the SDGs in developing countries, emerging markets. And the way that we do that is by helping social entrepreneurs fundraise more effectively through our platform. I won't go into all the details, but feel free to check out the platform. There's lots of different ways to do fundraising or developing a fundraising pipeline. And we encourage you to check it out, and happy to answer any questions that y'all might have at the end or via email after. Let's see. And then just a quick reminder for those of you who have been with us throughout this, or if you haven't, I'll tell you briefly, this session is part of the entire digital pitch contest. It's been going on for a month and a half now. It's a 3-month immersive program, all online to help entrepreneurs really perfect their fundraising pitch. And there's several partners who have contributed content, and including our lovely partners and panelists for today. So if you would like to learn more, please go to digitalpitch.globalinnovationexchange.org. This is the second, so just going into the specifics here, this is the second session out of a 3-part Getting the Pitch Right digital workshop. And for this one, we'll go into a little bit about how can you build a network of champions who can help you with your fundraising. Why is that important? How do you go about doing that? How do you keep them engaged? What kind of storytelling, marketing, and networking is important? And our lovely panelists who have a lot of experience in this field can tell you a little bit about how to do that and do that well. But if you'd like to learn more about the rest of the parts, you can go to digitalpitch.globalinnovationexchange.org. And without further ado, let's give the floor to our panelists. So Frida, if you wanted to unmute yourself and introduce yourself, and then we'll do Nilofer and Winnie. And Winnie, I have your slides, so happy to continue to share the screen and go through those. Just give me a thumbs up when you want me to switch them.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Frida. I'm Frida Owinga from Nairobi, Kenya. And I'm the founder of a company called Passion Profit, where we work with small and growing businesses to provide them with mentoring, networking, and access to capital. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you, Sweta.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nilofer Jain, and I'm from India. I'm the founder of the Happy Career Project, which is India's only happiness-focused career consulting firm, wherein we provide career development services and career advisory to young professionals and students in order to help them have a great career life. I've been an entrepreneur for more than 7 years, and I've had a rich experience of working with startups across telecom, education, and consulting.
We may have lost you, Nilofer. All right. Winnie, do you want to go ahead?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Can you hear me? Okay, just go on ahead with the slide. So my name is Winnie. I work with an organization or a social enterprise called Kwangu Kwako Limited. I'm the founder. One of the areas we're working on is housing. And as you can see from the slide, this is a normal area for slum, where we have more than 2 million people living. This is a normal housing condition, or these are the houses that normally are there. You can see Mabati, the variations, Mabati houses or iron sheets, and then you can see the mud houses. The next one. And one of the things that we notice is the fire, like you can see there. This is one of the things that happened, sort of like eureka moment for us. My partner was actually working in one of the slums where this fire actually happened, and as you can see, people are actually running around collecting all their personal belongings and things. And at the bottom, you can see a toilet standing. That is a Sanergy toilet that they use precast concrete materials to actually build. So this is where we were like, okay, so we can actually have a toilet that is standing and other houses are actually burning. So how important is a toilet? So that is how we started building houses using the same technology, which is precast concrete houses, replacing the Mabati houses, the size with the precast concrete. So you can see that the panels are there, so they can fit any dimension, smaller or bigger, but the same space. It's either for informal settlements or low-income earners. So it can be either of them. The last one. There's another slide. Now this one makes me sleep at night. This is one of our happy customers, and she has a baby, so it doesn't have a leaking roof. She doesn't have to worry about fire. It's safe, it's secure, it's comfortable, and we can just say it is a home with a dignity. That is why we are here.
Great, thank you so much, Winnie. And Nilofer, we were able to hear you, so thank you so much for the introduction, and feel free to share more when we're having the conversation. So let's jump into the conversation again. So Anthony, you're going to kick us off with our first question.
Yes, so thank you very much, everyone, especially for the good work that you're doing. So I'd want us to quickly jump into things. And my first question would be, we all know that a well-established network is an important aspect of our lives, but how important is networking and fundraising in your businesses, or how have you been able to fundraise before, and why is building a network of champions important in that? So I'd want to start with Frida. Frida, would you kindly give your sentiments?
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. I hope I'm not muted. Okay. Why would you want to build a network of champions? I often tell entrepreneurs that it is easier to lend money to a good friend than it is to lend money to a stranger, because oftentimes we say, I couldn't get the money from the bank or from whichever investor. But if you don't have a relationship with somebody, then they don't really have a basis for giving you money. So why is it important? It's important to network, to build that network of champions, because networking, I've discovered and observed that many times when entrepreneurs hear about networking, they think of going to an event and exchanging business cards. That is just a very small part of networking. So when we talk about networking, we need to understand that networking is cultivating relationships for the mutual benefit of both the people who are in that network. So it's important to start that before you need it. It's important to engage in networking activities that are aligned with your vision. Also very important to understand that the person who you're looking to give you money also has a vision, also has an agenda. So the important thing is you need to network very intentionally in terms of what is your vision, what is your vision, how much will you need, when will you need it, and who is the person who is willing and able to give that kind of support. And that's why networking is important. And it will not be one person, it will not be one time. So it's better to start early, long before you need the help.
All right, thank you very much, Frida. Lufa, would you want to offer your sentiments around the same, please?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
I loved what Frida had just shared. She very rightly said that networking, when you go for networking events and you exchange your business cards, it's a very small component of actual networking. So let me share an example. When I was part of BNI, which is Business Networking International, it's the world's largest business networking organization. And the one thing that we always spoke about was givers gain. That means you first give to gain something. And that is exactly why cultivating relationships is important. And when we talk about fundraising, well, what are investors looking for? They're looking for capacity, they're looking for capital, they're looking for collateral, they're looking for conditions and character, the 5 C's as PwC has put it in one document, that this is what a social investor looks for, right? And they are not just going to invest in a stranger, right? They're going to look at your business plan and they're going to look at what social mission are you there for and what kind of impact that you want to create or have been creating. And when you have a network where you are able to build trust, that helps you in fundraising. That's point number A. The second point is that we often look as investors who can supply us with capital, right? However, if we add a little more viewpoint to this, investors also help us to connect other resources. They can help us to connect to people who can give us business expertise, people who can give us legal advisory, or people who are entrepreneurs in different industries but having similar conditions and similar constraints. And how are they building a sustainable model, right? So having access to resources helps you increase in your productivity as well as helps you accelerate your growth as well. And when we look at networking, it provides that ecosystem, that spectrum for all of us, for people who want to, raise money, in particular, to connect with the right investors and the people. So yeah, that is my viewpoint on this.
All right, thank you very much, Nilufa. And Winnie, would you say building a network of champions is important?
I would say it's very, very important because everybody, shall we say, has a capacity of actually losing. So in as much as investors look like they have all the money in the world, they also are aware that they have a capacity to lose. For them, investment is something they also invest in order to gain something, whether it is social, financial, or whatever reason, they're actually investing in order to gain something. That said, the same investors actually, they are peers. They have peer groups and they have people that are in their own, let's say it's a group. It's sort of like a donor. All of them have groups. So the same people, during networking, if you find somebody, just one person, this person is going to actually talk to other people so that the other people that are with him in that particular circle will actually invest together, not singularly. That way they get actually to spread the risk around. So not just one investor that is going to invest thinking that his whole pot is going to be sort of depleted because of one person. They're going to like, I want to invest this, but for me to be able to invest this, let me harvest the brain of certain person, a certain person, a certain person, then we can come together and actually look at it. Then if I agree to invest, I'm only going to invest this amount, somebody else is going to invest, so that if it comes to a portfolio, a big one, you actually know that they're going to lose some and you're going to gain some. So that way they spread the risk as well as they also share information. That way it is a win-win for them. Okay, that is how I actually look at it. So it is not one person. It is a small community that actually, it's a peer. They share. So if you're wrong to one person, they will tell the other person. And the only way to meet them is actually networking, and then they can tell each other. From our personal experience, our investors have been very good in terms of actually pointing out to so-and-so also does such a thing, so-and-so does such a thing. And they actually write an email to that person. So the introduction is actually easier. You don't have to start from square one. Somebody has actually pushed your envelope through the door.
All right, thank you very much. I'd want to defer now to Sweta.
Yes, thank you so much. That was really great to hear the importance of, why we're talking about what we're talking about here today, and about networking and how that so neatly connects with fundraising. So I would love to ask the panelists to shed a little bit more light in terms of what kind of tips and advice do you have for social entrepreneurs about how to go about building that network, how to actually build a network of champions and organizations and individuals who can help your social enterprise with fundraising, but really champion for you in general with everything that you all described is so important. So for this one, could you, Nilofer, could you please shed some light about your thoughts on this? And in each of the panelists, have really fascinating, interesting backgrounds from all different areas of your life. So please feel free to take your own take and your own angle in this whole, space of networking for fundraising.
Great. So Shweta, one of the most important things that I feel to build a network of champions and people who like what you are doing is marketing and branding your story in a way which reaches out to the maximum number of people and compels them to follow you, to know what you're doing and why you're doing, what's the purpose behind it. And that's been very fruitful for a lot of social enterprises in India and even internationally. I believe storytelling is also a way of fundraising fuel, right? Again, I'm going to go back to my example and say that when I was part of the networking group, we used to follow one principle, which was visibility and credibility gives you profitability, right? We all as enterprises, be it for-profit or social enterprises, want to be really out there. We want to be visible and we want to have credibility attached to us so that people believe in what we do and consume what we have to offer, right? And a very good way of doing this is when you are going about your storytelling, right? Whether you're using digital platforms or you're going offline or you're connecting with people individually, you should be able to come with for example, something it could be providing quality drinking water to the whole of Africa, or providing education to everyone through digital medium or tablets or something like that, so that everyone's educated, right? So you have to cast a big vision, and then you should appeal to the core human values. So any storytelling, when you're connecting in person in a networking group or even using digital platforms, you should be able to provide a human touch. Why should they care for you? Everybody wants safety, everybody wants good health, everybody wants security and a better life for their children. And these are called as the core human values, which also our politicians use in their communication. They appeal to these values. So if you're able to do the same in your storytelling, your pitch is going to get better, and you are going to get more people who are going to support you. And lastly, but not the least, have a face on the statistical numbers or the data that you provide to your audience, right? That really helps. So you need to have a hero in the story. You need to have a villain in the story. You need to have the reason why the hero has to chase the villain. And once the hero has chased the villain and grasped him and strangulated him, then you need to have the result. That is what makes for a compelling storytelling and a great investor pitch.
Thank you so much, and I love your connection to your movie, if you will, with the hero and the villain. Thank you so much. Frida, we'd love to hear your take on this as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Nalifa is quite a storyteller. All right, I just want to put my timer on. All right, I think Winnie, it's good to see you in Nairobi. I've just recognized your name.
I am embarrassed. You didn't know me.
I'm extremely embarrassed myself. Kindly forgive me.
All right.
But great job. I actually like the way Winnie started her story. Very compelling. That and something that people can actually connect to. She showed the fire. She showed the housing, how deplorable it is, and then she showed what it is now in just a few quick images. And sometimes you may not have the luxury to have the presentation, so you need to tell that story. So you need to know how to tell it with the pictures, but you also need to know how to tell it with the words. And the simple acronym I use is the ABCD of storytelling, and which is really the first. Your story needs to show your ability, and in your ability, I like how Winnie's story showed us her ability. She showed us the burnt house, and then now she showed us the finished house. And then it also needs to show your believability, which is data that Nilufer talked about. How many people have you helped? For instance, today somebody came to my office, and on every Thursday I do what I call Founders Day, where people come and have one-on-one mentoring and coaching sessions. And this is one of the areas that I find entrepreneurs falter a lot. They have a challenge in this a lot, expressing their ability and believability, because they tend to think, I need to have been in this business over 10 years before I can express my believability. And believability is just showing, number one, what are the statistics regarding your situation? For instance, I work with entrepreneurs because in my country, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows us that every year this sector, first in 2013, they said there are 17 million entrepreneurs, and that is mixed, social and regular, and that this space is growing by 10% every year, but less than 90% make it to their third birthday. So you, in being believable, you want to show how you can reduce that number. So we work with one entrepreneur at a time to ensure that that number goes, there'll be more people reaching their third birthday. And then you can show how you have done that. How you have done that is paying attention to the people you're working with, which are the success stories, who are the people that are always coming to look for you. I always tell people that, and I'm not the first one to say it, I think Brian Tracy said that success leaves clues, all right? So in your believability, you want to see what are the clues that are showing you're believable in terms of who has asked, who have you served in that area, what has the response been, and what is the felt need based on statistics that you're looking at. So you want to put that into your story. And then your connectivity, which is the C, So you want to show your ability, you want to show your believability, and you also want to show your connectivity, which is your big why. Why do you do that? We do that because we want more entrepreneurs to make it beyond their third birthday, because we are helping them to create jobs. We are helping them to create jobs not just for themselves, but for others, so that in one way or in some way we can start reducing poverty. So it's not just everybody waiting for a white collar job. And then in dependability, so while you look at what is your big why do you do that? And who have you done it for? So you begin to see that as you carve the story, your dependability will also show. When we look at Winnie's story, we see her dependability in that there's a family standing outside the home that she has built. There's also some other homes that she's getting, an unfinished house that is showing what she's doing. So having pictures help. You can have a picture, you can have a brochure or something, but also aligning those pictures into a story that is compelling enough, showing why you do it. And that's my timer has gone off. Showing why you do it and who needs it. And that is the data that is there. Your ability, what is the experience you have? What is the experience, education and exposure you have that makes you the expert in that part? Because the investor wants to see that you are able, you'll be able to do it, and his money will be safe. Because oftentimes I tell people is investors, their money, they've also worked hard and earned it, and they're just not going to dish it out to us. So we have to have the compelling story, and these are some of the components that need to be in our story.
Thank you so much, Frida. That's really great. I've never heard of this ABCD framework. I think it's fantastic. Thank you so much. It's a really great way to quickly remember the different parts, when it comes to networking and storytelling. So Winnie, we would love to hear from you. You've been doing this for a long time. Frida, who's the expert here, has given you a thumbs up for your storytelling so far, but tell us your take on this topic as well from your personal experience.
Let me put my timer on, just like Frida. I can stay here for like forever. For me, it has always been go out and go to events and be tactical about it. It's not to go to everywhere or just network for the sake of it. Just be tactical and know people that you're going to see, do your research and know what it is that you're going to talk about. And most of all, share something that is fun, something they will remember, even if to you it is a failure. But it's something that they will remember and smile because you're sharing a situation. What was it that you did? What, as in a star situation, what was the task? How did you accomplish it? Or how is it that you actually went through it? And then how did you resolve it? So that even if you're saying something that you failed, but you said you failed, you said how you actually made it work from there, or what you learned from it and how it has improved you. So that even if they are remembering anything, they will remember something and either cringe or laugh. That is something that will actually make them remember to talk about it to other people. So make it fun. The other thing is pitch and pitch and pitch again. Because for me, I think I have more than like 5 different people or customer base that I pitch to, not only investors. The pitch that I do to investors is not the same one that I've just done now. It's not the same one that I'm going to a customer to actually pitch for. For a customer, I would actually not want to show some things. To a customer, they are more interested in clientele, retaining of their tenants if they're buying houses that are going to be rent out. So we are going to talk about maintenance being low, retaining their customers, thereby the return, the investment is going to be high. They're going to say about not loss of property. You're going to say something like security. It is improved because you have metal door, metal roof, and you get to stay in a home or in a house that doesn't leak. That is what you actually say to a customer. To an investor, is more interested in how many of them you want actually to sell and what is it that you saw. He's interested in the person. He's interested in me as Winnie. What is it that I want to do? Because actually all investors know that your business plan is wrong. So the only thing they invest in you is you as a person. What kind of a person are you? So they are going to learn from you. So the pitches are going to be different. And I have pitched, and that is where I met Frida. And half the time you're pitching to people, and some people can actually give you feedback that by the time you're pitching out, lack of word, your ears are just smoking, as in you're feeling like somebody has just murdered you or quartered you and they think you have done a good job. So you go back and you just go through the pitch again, you find where is it that you did wrong, and try and actually make sure that it works for you, not for somebody else. The way I tell my pitch is different from the way my other co-founder actually does. So what works for him does not work for me. But you make sure that your pitch actually just shows the way you are actually comfortable talking about it. The other thing is that take feedback well, but not everything. What works? Just take feedback well and take it the way it is. Some people will talk from their emotional aspect, and there are people who will talk from their mathematical background. So just make a balance out of it. And yes, you'll have investors who will turn you down. The last thing I want to do, me as a person, is actually go to somebody who has just told me I failed. But that is the wrong thing to do. You just go back to them and ask them, where is it that I failed, or what do you think I would have done better? Most of them are actually willing to tell you, oh, you failed because of maybe your investment did not show one thing, or it did not show the return of investment, it did not show how your overheads were, something. They will tell you something. And that one, actually going back to them, they will remember you. And actually, it might be a positive aspect where you're concerned, so that you can actually improve. That is what we can say.
Thank you so much, Winnie. Frida, I think you said you wanted to share something about the topic as well.
Yes, I just wanted to add that it's very important to understand. I think that this meeting was set up for how do we pitch to investors. So our answers are really to investors. But the key thing for the people listening to us, the social entrepreneurs, when you want to pitch to an investor, the biggest thing that most people fail to consider is, what is your big why? I always go back to, what is your end in mind? Always have your end in mind, because at the end of the day, you are the visionary. It is your business, all right? So the investor is going to give you feedback. People listening to you are going to give you feedback, but you will have to be the decision maker on what is the information that you're going to take out of it, and what is the end that you want to meet. And so when we're talking about investors, we need to pick and choose what are we going to tell them. And that's why I use the ABCD analogy as something that I have used when I'm working with entrepreneurs, and when I have helped them to work with investors. But if you're just in a regular networking space, like tomorrow people will be in a networking space, you have to remember that there could be 3 people you are talking to. So you need to do your due diligence to know who is in the room, number one. And when you're speaking to people, you know, before you go too much into a pitch and that kind of thing, because also at a networking event, that is not the place to really pitch. Sometimes I find that we have overused this word pitch. It is just simple introduction. So how I'll introduce myself to Winnie at an event might be very different from how I'll introduce myself to somebody who I know is a potential investor. So number one, always do your due diligence to know who is in the room. What is your end in mind? What do you want to achieve at that event? If you're pitching to investors and you have 3 investors in front of you, it's going to be very different based on the time you have, based on what these people are going to say. So I'm being careful to come back and say this, because we don't want you to leave here bombarded with information, more confused than when you came. So please understand that our information is for when you're speaking to an investor, when you're going to be in a networking event like tomorrow. That is a general place. There could be, I always say there are 3 people in any room. There could be a consumer, somebody who needs to buy your product. There could be who I call a reporter. A reporter is that person who may not buy from you, but can give you a referral. And then there's the potential investor. This morning at the Founders Day, when we had the open mentoring, there was a lady who is doing something to do with sanitary holders for young girls and teaching them about menstruation. And so in the room there was, so we were all ladies today. So all the ladies will need that product one way or another. But there's also a lady who works with the children's home. And in the children's home, it's a girls' children's home. So that is a reporter and a potential investor for her. So it's important to understand, I like what Winnie said, that you don't have one pitch. So you need to have like a story, a storybook of, you know, what you're going to be telling people when you meet with them. So pay attention to what you're going to say, how you want to be remembered, be authentic, be yourself. At the end of the day, it is your business. Whether you get the money from this one investor or not, if you believe in your business, you'll always find a way. I think I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, Frida. So actually, my next question has already almost been answered by Frida and Winnie, but I'll still ask it. And Nilofer, maybe we could start with you for the response, and then we'll circle back to Winnie and Frida if you both have something to add again. So my next question is about, you know, when it comes, you started to touch on this a lot, and Frida, you went into quite in depth. When you're networking, there's a lot of different audiences that you need to be thinking about. So who, if you take a step back and for our participants today, if you could break down who should they be thinking about? And Frida, you broke this down really well with the 3 types of audiences. So who should they be talking about, and how should their pitch or the story vary depending on whom they're talking to? And what I thought was interesting, Frida, is you also started to talk about not just who you're talking to, but the context that you're talking to them in as well, right? A networking event is probably not the best place to try to finish your pitch and raise funds, but you know, there's different end messages and sort of the why of the pitch that you're making as well. So Nilofer, we'll start with you in terms of the audiences and the pitches and how it should vary.
Okay, just let me put my timer on. Great. So I really liked what Winnie and Frida had to add. And in fact, I would like to say that when we are trying to identify people who should be part of our network, we should look for collaborators. We should look for people who can bring in capital, people who can bring in referrals in terms of clients, people who can help us get into the government, like if we need a government connect, people who can bring us technological support or information that can help us to build our enterprise in a better manner, or reach our customers in a better manner, or bring in some sort of an operational efficiency. So we need to potentially look at collaborators. Now, when we look at investors always look for a strong team, right? And they always want to, like Winnie had said, they invest in you because your business plan can be wrong. And a lot of them are sitting there to prove that your business plan is wrong. So you need to have a complete a network of different types of stakeholders who can add a lot of value to you and your business. So that comes from technology, somebody who can apprise you about different types of technology and how you can use technology, digital technology or different types of technology for your industry to be better, the legal hassles or the legal framework, and if there are any potential changes that your business can, leverage. Then it could be people like media. How do you, frame your message and communication to reach out to a wider audience or different stakeholders, right? And then people in the government who can help you, connect to different governmental bodies or, maybe funding schemes that will help your business. And of course, investors. And what are the ways to potentially connect with these different types of collaborators is something like I have learned to call gains, which is identify these things in the collaborators you want to network with. Do you have goals that can be aligned, right? Social objectives or financial objectives that can be potentially aligned. Accomplishments. Do you think the accomplishments that you have as a team or that your organization has achieved and accomplished will be valued by that particular collaborator, right? And he can further then propel and propagate your cause. The third would be interest. Do you have any common interest with that particular collaborator? Now that could be, for example, I need new technology to upgrade my services business. I want to commoditize my business. So I'm looking for artificial intelligence, or I'm looking to penetrate the deeper pockets of sub-Saharan African, area. How do I do that? So is there a technology which is available out there, and there's somebody in the tech industry who is, aware of it or is running an organization like that? The third would be network. Do we have any potential chances of network, which, we can work upon? And lastly, skills. Will the skill sets of the team and the organization be valued by that potential collaborator? And just very crisply, I would want to put an elevator pitch to be used in these when you're trying to the creator, trying to network. The first thing is you use your name, your company's profession. Then you highlight the value proposition, as in how are you solving a particular problem. You tell the problem statement and how do you solve it. Thirdly, you ask for a concrete ask. Okay, I want to be connected to somebody who is into patient capital, somebody who can help me get a government loan, loan from a non-banking financial corporation, or somebody who can connect me to a venture capitalist, right? And the last is, what do you give to somebody who collaborates and networks with you? Because till the time you don't give to somebody, it's very unlikely you're going to get something. So give does not need to be in terms of your services. It could be your network, your contact sphere, your skill set, anything that can be of value to the other person. And lastly, always leave a memory hook. And that memory hook comes from an emotional connection that you build. Why should that person care for you? So yeah, I hope that answered the question that you were asking, Shweta.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Nilofer. Yes, absolutely. And I really like the last point about being willing to give first. It's a really important part of networking that people often forget. Is the importance of knowing to give something in return for something that you're asking for, and it might not even be the same person. It might be someone else who can connect them to, who can give them something, which is still incredibly valuable. So thank you. I wanted to ask Frida and Winnie if either one of you wanted to add more to this topic. I know each of you already shared a little bit, but if you have anything to share, please feel free to jump in. Frida, would you want to go first?
Yes, thank you. Back to my original statement, what networking is cultivating relationships. I really would like the listener to live with that. And cultivating relationships doesn't happen over time. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a time. And I find that sometimes when we go to a networking event and we exchange the business card, we feel that whatever we want needs to come, from the next call. And I often give people an example. If you are married, how long did it take for you to get into that relationship? Because that is an investment for the rest of your life. So we need to start, and again, going back to what is your big why, and then doing a personal audit to understand what do you have. Because oftentimes I find that entrepreneurs feel, oh my God, it's the investor. He's the one with the money. He has everything. But you, entrepreneur, you also have something, because that's why you started a business. That's why you're doing, social impact. So never forget the value you're bringing to the table. I have a mentor who's an impact investor, and the big thing is we are cultivating a relationship. Get to know the person. Do they have a family? And this doesn't happen over one meeting. Is somebody now I've known for a year, when they have a baby or something, you can send them a gift. I haven't sent him a gift, I've sent him a congratulations, but just paying attention to what does this person like over that time, so that you're not so fixated about what you want from them. Just like how you cultivate a relationship with a friend. So I find that if you understand, number one, what is your big why, and what are your skills? I say, what are your resources? And in your resources, there are 3 T's. T number 1, how much time do you have to invest in this cultivating of relationship, so that you can align yourself with events that will bring you the results you want. Because I find sometimes entrepreneurs go to all events, and how they choose the events to go to, they choose the cheapest one. And it's not the cheapest one that might bring you the results you want. So when you do an audit, you need to audit how much time do you have to do this. Number 2, what is your talent, and what talent are you looking for? I like that Nilofer said, you collaborate. So for my mentor, one of the things that he has asked me to do is to help their company, because I'm good with networking. I have my own network. Nilofer, I've been a director consultant for BNI, believe it or not, so small world. So they want to create a network for his investment organization. So they called me to do that. So always go knowing that you carry value and you can offer your value, and then there's an exchange. So you're not feeling so needy, or, if this person says no. So you're cultivating a relationship. If it ends in money, great. If it doesn't end in money, you have a friend in your corner. So the three T's are your time, talent, and treasure. Managing your money, in which events you're going to go to, because it's not only the free events that you need to go to. Some of the people you need to meet are in paid events. All right, I see you laughing, sweetheart. All right, I just thought I'd throw that in.
Okay. Let me bring it down a notch. Don't think investors, I will bring it down a notch, a bit lower, just normal ground. From my experience, I didn't meet any of them in networking events. You know, when they tell you do not burn bridges, when they tell you don't burn bridges, that is quite true. Both our investors, actually the family foundation that has actually invested in us more than $100,000 US, that one, trust me, was a reference from an employer. As in where you work, you stopped working there and you went somebody else. This guy introduced us to the investor. It was like, Kwangu Kwako are doing so well. My partner or my co-founder was the one working there, and this guy is doing a good job, and he was working with us and did very well. So that is a kind of networking we're talking about sometimes that actually gets you fruits. It's not in a restaurant. So imagine if somebody had just left the job and you left in a hoof, and you thought that was the end and that is it, as in me and you, now that we don't want to together, I can do anything that, and just leave when you're angry or something. That is one of the investors that somebody just told that guy, we are doing a good job, and actually invested in us. That is one. The next person was actually also in almost similar thing. It was one of those things that you go for an interview and then you leave it there, then you mention this is what I've been doing, and then you sort of keep in touch. And then this fellow said, they also have an investor. Then they're like, you're an investor in us, you've invested in us, so we are friends. And I know that if I introduce so and so, you're not going to shoot my foot. It's sort of like a friend, like you're dating and you want your sister to date somebody. Yeah? So you introduce somebody who is nice because you don't want to lose. Sort of that kind of reference has actually gotten us the second one. Because even me, when I'm going for networking, if I find that you're doing something good, I know you very well, I will more or less introduce your idea to my family foundation person. I say, I know what you're doing, but so-and-so is also doing something, and this is what they do. So the investor will tell you, can you write an email and introduce that person? So that is how actually we network. It's sort of like, I will introduce you, and then you introduce me, sort of something like that. Don't feel like you're going to lose any money, because surely it is in his pocket. So even if you introduce somebody else, it's not going to come out from your investment that he has given you. So you're losing nothing. The same thing, other people are going to do the same. That is how we have actually gotten our two investors, not through very large things, but technically you meet somebody, you become nice. You just give. And if you find another in another social enterprise that has a problem, you share, you give, whatever it is that you can help. It doesn't burn out. So that is how actually for me it has worked so far.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Winnie, Nilufa, and Frida. Actually, I've been laughing here just listening to the stories that Winnie, Frida gave. I'm trying to imagine, because I've been to events where an entrepreneur comes and approaches you and says, hey, my name is so-and-so. I actually saw the website and I saw you have funding opportunities. Can I apply? Can you give me some money? So it was funny when you mentioned your stories and like that. So we've talked so much about how you can be able to build a network of champions, but can you probably just give us a bit more information on what not to do when you're building your network of champions? So I want to start with Nilufa and Frida to follow. And then Winnie, I'd be happy if you can be able to give us an example of what not to do from your experience.
All right. So I think the first thing when you're building network of champions is that don't run to everyone. So when I first started my business, I thought, you know what, I want to tell everyone about what I do. I'm going to, I went to a lot of networking events like Frida mentioned, and here is my business card. This is what I do here. This is my business card. And I realized, oh my God, half of them just, gave me a frown and they were like, all right, nice to meet you. And they would just proceed to take their tea. And I would be like, what did I say wrong? What did I do wrong? So the first thing I realized was that I did research an event and how it's going to benefit me. And can I benefit it? So like Frida very nicely mentioned the 3 T's. And I think it's also very important that we invest a little time to understand that, how is it going to really help us? That's the primary number one thing. Don't run to everyone. Even for investors, you need to look for investors who align with your mission and your objectives. For example, for most of you who are running a social enterprise and a not-for-profit, your thing is about creating a social impact. And if your investor is only interested in a financial gain and not really on the impact that you're wanting to create, then it's not an alignment here, right? So it's very important that just as the investor invests in you, you invest in the investor as well, right? The second thing is that don't expect quick results. So again, I'll give you an example. When I started networking and I got the hang of it, oh yeah, I am giving people whatever they need. I'm connecting them to, my sphere, helping. Why is nobody helping me? Why is it that, I'm not getting results? Well, networking takes time. Like Frida has been giving examples that you cultivate a relationship. Trust can never be built in a day. Rome was not built in a day. Likewise, trust, and that too in today's time, where a high and a buy is so quick, takes time. So you cannot always expect, very quick results. It will take time, especially when it comes to investing. And especially when it comes to impact investing for social enterprises. Because I'll tell you a few things over here. When it comes to social investors, they want less of risk, right? They know that they are going to get lesser ROI because the entire thing is more socially driven. And they want to be very sure. And when it comes to emerging markets, they want to see the validation, the proof of concept that it exists, that there's a precedent before they invest their money, right? So you need to understand that expecting extremely quick results is a no-no. So don't do that, right? And lastly, a lot of times I feel there are a lot of passionate people out there who want to bring about a change. But till the time you don't have data, you don't have examples, you don't have stories to share with people and investors in particular, it's very hard for you to expect that they are going to be a network of champions for you. So just to recapitulate, Vinny and Frida have been, taking examples of how, somebody connected with them and how, their story had an impact on the person who connected with them, right? So again, they made people care for what they're doing. And it is not that easy to make somebody care for what you're doing. I want to be a global citizen who respects the world and the green earth and everything, but in my day-to-day life, how is it important? That trigger takes a little time, and you need to really know your audience, your network of collaborators and champions, before you can expect that they're going to invest time in you and they're going to, make a significant contribution. And how do you accelerate that process? If you have data and stories to share with them. And a simple way of doing this is use different platforms. You can send newsletters to people. You can, you can use Facebook, Instagram, YouTube effectively. Like I loved how Winnie introduced herself. Like while we are all trying to verbally try to, sound nice and interesting, she just put pictures out there. And we all knew what she's doing, right? And it's so impressive. So a lot of times we may not be able to give a voice to what we are doing, but you have visuals. And the last and the very most important thing I would like to say is maintain consistency. If in all your networking efforts, you do not put a consistent effort, like I'm sure all the people who are married out there would totally believe in this, that consistency is the key. You need to constantly keep on, and consistently keep on, making your partner happy. All the wives would definitely agree to this. It's the same thing even with your business and with all the stakeholders who are associated with it. So be it your investors or be it the collaborators who can bring in potential gain and value add to your business, it's also for your consumers and your customers. It's also for those potential people you can reach out to. And consistency is a very, very strong thing. A lot of times we get hassled with the operational work, and we may not be consistent with our communication. But I totally believe that consistent communication, storytelling, and being patient and perseverant can help you build the right network for a very long time.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Nilufer. Frida, do you want to jump in?
I really need to jump in and jump out because I have a 4 o'clock call starting. I have a Zoom call that I need to slide into. That's going to start at exactly 4 o'clock. One of the things I want to say, I'm not good at saying what not to do because I'm just like that. I prefer telling people what to do. Then you can figure out what not to do. So one of the things is do not copy. When we're talking about storytelling, going to copy paste a story from another website is going to kill your networking because you don't know why they wrote what they wrote. So figure out your why. Pay attention and take time to write your own compelling story. Find help. There's lots of help wherever you are. There are people who are willing to, to help you. So find help. So don't be sloppy about creating your story because that can make or break you. So do not copy. And then there's another thing I was going to say. Be willing to give before you gain. And if you remember nothing else, remember that networking is cultivating relationships. Remember the relationships that you have. Remember the relationships that you have that are successful. Success leaves clues. What have you done in those relationships that is causing those relationships to thrive? That can start giving you a clue how to create a relationship with other people. An investor is just a human being like you and I. So don't put them in a pedestal and start breaking your head and doing crazy stuff to get through to them. Just be yourself. You're running a business and it's an important business, and the investor may help you, may not help you. Don't give up. I like what Nilufer said. She said, be consistent, and I add, be persistent. Consistency will help you get it. Persistence will help you keep it. So don't give up quickly. Don't start looking for money before when you need it. Start now. Start from day one building your story. Thank you so much, guys. I need to run. Thank you, everyone.
Frida, thank you.
Thank you, Frida.
Anthony, is it me?
Yes, it is you, Winnie.
Okay, for me, death by PowerPoint. You know, when you decide to send pitch decks and you just send them and they are so wordy and nobody can even read that, they are not even interesting. I think that is one thing that people that is one mistake people do. When you're told that you need to send something, just send something very small, not with a lot of information, because people are not going to judge you with a PowerPoint. So just send information to make them want to meet you, to want to learn more from you, just an introduction sort of, to make them entice, like an appetizer. Don't send them the whole document. It is a main meal and the dessert. So why would they will just knock you out before they even know you. So death by PowerPoint, also make sure your presentation is really nice, it is attractive, and it is to the point. That is what I would want to say.
All right, thank you very much, Winnie, for that, especially for talking about death by PowerPoint. I remember a point where someone who was sending us some proposals, and they sent a lot. So the minimum pages that we were supposed to send was 12 pages, but they had 72 pages on it. So I understand when you're talking about death by PowerPoint. So Thank you very much for that. Thank you everyone for the presentation. I want to defer now to Sweta.
Thank you so much, everyone. So just as we close out, I wanted to mention a couple of things. So a couple of the panelists mentioned this, but we are having an event tomorrow for those of you who are in Nairobi. Unreasonable East Africa is partnering with us on this happy hour. So please join us. It's in Kilimani. Come join us, have a drink at 5:30. We'll probably be there for a few hours. So I welcome any of you who are based in Nairobi to come by. Nilofer, we will miss you. But I know you'll be there in spirit.
Happy hour, yeah.
And then again, just a reminder that this is part of a 3-part series. The next one is on June 7th. It will be on a relatable story. We'll be featuring a different entrepreneur who'll be sharing his take on how his experience has helped him gain some of the champions that he has gained. And some of his champions will actually be joining us on the call. So hope that you can tune in for that and hear firsthand from them on how, what about his pitch stood out. And then finally, for those of you who are interested in practicing your pitch, we are doing a digital pitch contest. You can learn more about all of these and find the recording on the website at digitalpitch.globalinnovationexchange.org. So in the next couple of days, we will post this recording for any of you who would want to share it with anyone in your network. And of course, for those who couldn't join us live today. And again, like I said at the beginning, if you have any questions that, we didn't see any specific questions come up that the panelists did at some point already end up addressing. But if you think of anything later, just email us at admin@globalinnovationexchange.org. And my team and I are happy to connect you with the panelists, as necessary. Or if you have any questions about any of these topics in general, we're happy to do our best to answer them. So thank you everybody for joining, and a huge thank you, of course, to our panelists for sharing their wisdom, and Anthony for co-hosting this with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.